Hi friends, this is Jennifer from Decorsauce, and I am so excited to be sharing my newest project with you today. I am sitting here in my unused living room, dining room area in the front of my house, and the plan in here is to convert this area from an unused space to a bar lounge area. So I'm going to show you the plan. And the space is about 20 feet by 12 feet with a couple of decorative columns in the middle right here. So this is where, right here in the middle of the floor, in between the two rooms, there are two 1 foot, approximately 1 foot square dividers that pop out into the room that make two separate rooms. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be removing and demoing those decorative columns out of the floor, and it goes all the way up to the ceiling. So that will first of all create this really nice one room. Okay, before I move any further, I just wanted to show you what the room looks like now and the area divider that I'm going to be removing between the two rooms. So this is the front entrance of my home, and behind me is my living room, dining room area that was original to the house. Though I found when I moved into this house that in order to accommodate all the seats that I needed at my dining room table, there's no way it would fit in this room anyway. So it's never really been used for a dining room, and formal living rooms are really just out. And one of my favorite things to do with spaces that you live in already, homes that are existing, is to reimagine them for something that's useful to your family. You don't have to stick with a living room just because it says this is a living room on the floor plan. So this room will get a lot more use reimagined as a lounge area for our family in particular. So here is the room behind me. This is the wall that I'm going to be removing. Right here, it's just a divider. It's not anything structural with the home, and I'm not an expert on that. I just know that in this house, my load-bearing walls are usually going this way, and this one is happened to be going this way. So when in doubt, just don't go removing any walls that you are not sure if they're holding up your house structurally. The way I ultimately determined it is I created a small hole in the actual drywall in an inconspicuous place so that I could peek up in there with a flashlight and just make sure before I go hacking into any walls. So now that I'm ready to get going, let's do it. So obviously when you're doing demo, you can just use a hammer if that's the only tool that you have, and you can, rip a lot of the drywall down with your bare hands. I'm actually going to be using this reciprocating saw to help me with my project, just because I think it creates a lot less dust, and I already own the tool, so I might as well use it. So I'm going to be using this to cut out as large chunks of drywall as I can, and then I'll be ripping the rest out with my hands using gloves. So I'm several hours into my demo project, and I just wanted to show you the progress so far. As you can see, I've removed one whole side of the room, the decorative room divider, and about maybe a third of the top or less. This is the part of the project when I want to cry and I regret the decision to do it because it's such hard work, but I'm going to keep plugging away, and hopefully this room is going to be really great when it's all done and totally worth it. So it's day 2 of the demolition, and the demo is completed. So I just wanted to give you a peek at what it looks like now. I'm really excited about the prospect of this being one room instead of two. I'll get a lot more use out of it because I'll have a lot more wall space to place furniture and things like that. The next phase in this process is actually going to be to remove the carpeting, and I'm going to show you how I do that next. And then I'm going to lay a new floor. So the carpet in my house is already old and loose. So if you're lucky and your carpet is also old and loose, it should be really easy to remove the carpet. So I'm gonna just show you how I do it. There's no really exact science to it, or at least maybe there is, but I don't get paid the big bucks to do it. So I'm just gonna show you how I removed carpet in the past and how I'm gonna do it again. And here we go. Now you're gonna wanna be careful because there's a tack strip here, and it does have nails and tacks in it, so you can be careful that you don't get hurt. including this one over here on the edge. So once you remove all the carpeting and the pad, then you'll take a crowbar and a hammer to remove the tack strip. And I would recommend using ear protection for this process because it can get really loud when you're banging into a tack strip with a hammer. Okay, so once you get all your tack strips removed out of the floor with your crowbar and your hammer, the next thing is you're gonna prep your floor for whatever treatment you're going to do to it. For this floor, I'm actually going to lay a vinyl floating floor in here, and I'm gonna be doing that myself. So the only thing I really have to do is make sure that I get all of the nail heads out. So I already went around the room and removed any little nail heads that were still stuck in the concrete with a crowbar again. And then vacuum really good, and then use a tool like this. It's a floor handheld scraper with disposable blades, and you're gonna use this to scrape any bits of glue or sponge that's left over on the floor from the carpet that you removed underneath. And if you're going to do a painted floor or something like that, it's a whole different animal, because you're gonna need to remove all of the actual glue residue with a like an alcohol solution. So that's not what I'm gonna do here. I'm just going to use the hand scraper to get all the little bits up, and any rough pieces of paint or plaster or anything that was on the concrete floor from the builders when they built the house. So today marks about a week after I started this bar project in the front room of my house. I just wanted to share with you guys the progress. As you can see behind me, I've got the walls painted black. The paint on the wall is by PPG. It's called Black Magic, and it is in the eggshell finish, in case you're interested. The next thing I'm gonna do is I am going to pick up the floor today from Home Depot. The floor I ordered is Allure Plank Resilient Grip Strip in color Rosewood. And the reason I chose this color is because it matches the floor that's already existing in my front entryway and in my kitchen. So it's just, even though it's not exactly the same floor, it's pretty much exactly the same color. So it'll give me some continuation of this floor from the front entry room and the kitchen into the new bar area. Because this is gonna be like an overflow kitchen for us, because it's gonna give me a lot of storage space for entertaining and stuff like that. So now there are two ways of doing the flooring. You can just install it the way it is over your current floor and not remove any baseboards, and then just use a quarter round, which is a piece of trim. It's actually called quarter round, that goes around the perimeter of the flooring and abuts to the trim that's already there. For me, it's gonna save me about $60 in quarter round for this room, just to remove the baseboards. And since I can do it without damage, that's what I'm gonna do. And so I'm gonna show you how I remove the baseboards if your trim is like mine and it's not glued onto the drywall. Because you don't wanna do a lot of drywall damage. You just wanna lift it off and then put your floor down and then reinstall the trim back onto it with some more finishing nails. So, and then I'm gonna show you how I'm going to deal with my threshold from the front entry room into the new room, because there is vinyl flooring already here. And it looks like wood. It looks like I said, it's the same as this. I'll show it to you in a minute. And, but it does have some damage from when I removed the old threshold. So I have to cut that part away so that I can have a smooth finish into my new floor and then install a threshold on top of it. So I'm gonna show you how I remove those two things in just a moment. And then after that, I'm gonna show you how to install the vinyl plank flooring. Now that I've removed removed all the baseboards. There's one last issue to address, and that is the transition between my front entryway and the new room. And I'll show you what it looks like. It's really kind of a mess. They installed the old threshold with nails right into the concrete. So not only did it pull up bits of concrete that I have to address, but also it sort of damaged the other floor that was next to it. So I have to cut away a portion of it to make a nice smooth transition between the two rooms. And I'm gonna show you how I do that. Really a mess. Like, it is coming up. I can't install a floor over the top of that because it'll just, you'll see the bump and it'll just be a huge mess. That's my ferret, that's my Farrah. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna remove 2 inches of it, starting from this line right here, all the way across the entire floor. So the way I'm gonna do that is actually I'm just gonna use a really sharp box cutter, this one, and I'm just gonna use it to cut right along this line. And then I'm gonna remove all of this and the paper backing underneath with my handy scraper that I've used a million times for a bunch of different projects. So I've cleaned my floor now about, I don't know, 25 times. I've swept it, I've used the shop vac, I've used a regular vacuum and the broom, trying to get every little bit of rock and debris that's underneath, that's gonna be, or that's on the concrete right now, so that it's not underneath my vinyl floor when I lay it. I am beginning to lay the first row, which is pretty self-explanatory. You just start at one end of your room and you start with a full-size plank. When you get to the second row, that's where things get a little bit more tricky because you're going to want to lay it at, the planks are 36 inches long and 6 inches wide. And the first row, I'm just gonna do full-size planks until the very end. Then I'm gonna cut a piece to fit if it doesn't fit. And then for the second row, you're gonna start in at 30 inches instead of 36, and that way you get a staggered appearance so that you don't have all your lines running the same way, because a wood floor would never look like that. So anyway, so I'm just beginning my first row now, and then and I'll show you how I'm doing it, and then I'll show you how I do the second row when I get to it. So I've laid about 4 planks now along the wall here, as you can see. And they say that you want to leave about 1/4 inch between your wall and where the flooring starts. And I've removed all my baseboards, so I'm going right up almost to the wall area, and then I'll be installing my baseboards afterwards to kind of hold it steady. So, but this floor is floating. It's not being glued down to the floor. It's just floating, and that will allow for expansion and contraction, and hopefully last us a really long time. So, okay, so here I am. With about 4 in, and they say that you want to lay it at or put it in at a 45-degree angle, up high, line up the 2, kind of push so it's nice and tight, and then roll it down. And we'll do that for each one. And Home Depot recommends that you rent a roller after you're done. The pressure that you put on it activates the glue for the planks to stick together. So you're gonna wanna put at least, I think it said around 100 pounds on each seam, and then that will assure that your glue sticks properly from plank to plank. So I'm actually just gonna walk on it for now. Honestly, in the last row here, the plank, the full-size 36-inch plank isn't going to fit, so now is where I'm gonna have to make my first cut, and it's along the first row on the wall. I'm actually gonna set my plank down where I need it to be, lined up with the other one, lined up with the one that's already installed, and then I need to cut it to about right here. So I'm gonna get my square, and I'm gonna line up my square right with the edge that I need to cut. And I'm just gonna cut along my edge here. And I've made a little notch, as you can see. And then I'm just gonna snap it off. So now I'm going to take the cut piece that I just cut off of the other end here, and I'm gonna use this to begin the next row, and that will give me the variation that I need in my floor instead of lining up the next full-size 36-inch tile with the next one. So my floors are almost done, and I'm just now at the tricky part, which is finishing the floor. So as you can see, right here is I have a 1/2 inch gap between the last plank and my wall piece. And unfortunately, it's just slightly larger, the gap, than what my trim will cover up. So I do have to cut long pieces of the flooring to lay them down in this gap, which is a real pain and the worst part of the project, because getting it this close to the wall and having them stick down right is really challenging. So I just will show you what I'm doing here. I'm taking 1/2 inch pieces like this that we cut off lengthwise of the tile, with the cut side facing the baseboard and the edge from the manufacturer facing the next tile. So we're working backwards. It's a little bit challenging, but this is how you finish the floor. So here's what the 1/2 inch cut looks like once it's installed. I think it's important to say that this is a two-man job. This lasts a little bit, because when you're getting close to the baseboards and you're working backwards, it's helpful to have somebody sit in the corner and keep the corner in place while you place the rest of the plank in, just because otherwise you'll never get it in and it'll just be a horrible frustration. You'll be mad at the world. So it's a two-man job. The whole project probably only took me about 3 or 4 hours, but I started late in the afternoon, so that's why. It was getting late and I was getting tired last night. So this is just day 2, just on the account of this little strip needing to be fixed, and then it'll be done. So probably this room is 12 by 20, and so about 3 or 4 hours is what you could expect from start to finish. So really not too bad for a beginner's project. The last thing we have to do is install the thresholds. And there's not a lot of videos on how to do that between vinyl flooring and the new floor, which is the grip strip flooring. So what you have to do is Home Depot online sells the kit. What it comes with is the piece of trim, and it comes with a track like this. And what you have to do is you lay out the track about 3/16 of an inch from the new flooring onto your old flooring. In this case, mine is vinyl over concrete. And then you take a hammer drill and you have to drill this track, like here, down into your concrete. So you line it up like this, 3/16 of an inch from your new floor. And then you just drill. As you can see here, it's got holes. It's got holes, so you just drill. You line it up where it needs to be, and then you just drill holes into the concrete. You don't have to do every single hole. You can do every other hole. It's just to hold it in place. And then after you install that, and it comes with the screws and the anchor kits as well, and it's called T-mold for this particular purpose, because there's not a lot of variation in between the two floors. There's not a big step. It's not like you're going from carpet to this floor or tile from this floor. So it's relatively the same length, so you just need the T-molding. And it looks like this on the underside. And then after you get the track installed, then you just snap the T-molding piece on top. So actually my husband is running the hammer drill for me, so. friends, it's the moment I've been waiting for the last couple of months, the big reveal, the best part. So welcome to my lounge. Come on inside, I'll make you a drink. The actual bar, the bar itself that's behind me, we had custom made from a cabinet maker in Ohio who then stained it and shipped it to us. So here it is behind me. Isn't she gorgeous? So when we were first romanticizing about making this project a reality and actually converting this front room of ours, this wasted space, into this fun bar lounge area, the wet bar was kind of just a fantasy for us. But we just got lucky in that the water that runs to our upstairs master bathroom is actually in this wall that's right next to where we wanted to put the sink anyways. So we were able to hire a plumber to run the hot and cold water lines from our new sink into the existing water lines. And we are so happy because this really gives us all the functionality of an overflow kitchen. So lighting was something that was a huge problem in this room before. So it was a real priority to add some more lights, especially when I had the ceiling open from the demolition that I did. So we added 8 LED recessed lights, the ones that can change color, just because it gives it a fun party vibe in here, and they can also be white. We also installed pendant lights over the bar and sconces on the wall behind me. And finally, the last thing we needed to add to our cozy lounge was 4 cozy chairs. So we ordered 4 club chairs in a soft, cozy velvet fabric that's perfect for relaxing and entertaining. So we've reached the end, friends. This concludes my tutorial on how to install an Allure plank vinyl flooring, and more importantly, how to take an unused, not functional space in your own home and make it functional for your lifestyle. Don't forget to check out my website at decorsauce.com for more home tips, ideas, and before and after photographs. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helps you at all, I would really appreciate it if you would like, and also subscribe, and have a happy DIY.